of a cat, what do you think of? Perhaps the image of a feline friend or maybe an even bigger exotic creature comes to mind. But do you think of a cultural significance in the ancient world cultures? Probably not. But actually, all of these things can be closely tied to the now domesticated house cat. Cats in ancient civilizations and cultures were highly valued as pest control agents or goddesses. But today, according to the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, there are more than 3.2 million cats in the United States that are homeless and being entered into animal shelters every year. I've always adored cats, and in my lifetime, I've been able to have some as pets, which has greatly influenced my childhood. Now, after conducting in-depth research from National Geographic and the Ancient History Encyclopedia about different ancient civilizations, I've been able to learn about how my favorite pet has been a favorite pet pretty much across the world. For thousands of years, I've seen throughout almost all ancient civilizations across the world that humans have been influenced by cats as they've played a crucial role as either companions, pest control aids, and even idols. Today, I will be looking at 3 different ancient civilizations and how they were influenced by domesticated cats. Those being firstly, obviously, the ancient Egyptians. Secondly, I will look at cats in ancient Chinese and Japanese mythology. And lastly, the influence of cats in ancient Greece and Rome. The ancient Egyptians were probably the most memorable for having domesticated cats, seeing as they closely worshipped cat gods. Coming from Joshua Mark, the director of the Ancient History Encyclopedia, the goddess Bastet was depicted as a cat or a woman with the head of a cat. She is one of the most famous and popular deities in the Egyptian pantheon. Babastis, or the House of Bastet, was her ritual center and city. An enormous temple was built in the middle of the city for Egyptians to come and worship the goddess and their cats. The Egyptians would also travel to Babastis during the time of mourning period after the loss of a cat. The cats would be embalmed, mummified, and laid to rest at the temple if they were not buried alongside their owner. The ancient Egyptians were extremely careful to protect their beloved pets because they were so highly valued. The death penalty in Egypt was not for what you think it would be. The death penalty was actually used if you killed or harmed a cat and were caught. When attacking Egypt, the Persians used this law to their advantage by painting cats on the shields and on their bodies. When it came time for the Egyptians to defend their city, they were afraid to defend themselves, for fear of accidentally hurting the cats the Persians brought in battle with them and facing the death penalty if a cat were caught in the crossfire. This led to the defeat of several cities along the Nile. Now you may be wondering, why did the ancient Egyptians worship and treasure cats so much? I had this question myself. After studying ancient Egyptian art depicting cats, Jacob Brogan from the Smithsonian concluded about the significance of the felines. One of the main reasons that cats became so important was because they hunted and fed on mice, which were notorious for depleting amounts of grain from the harvest. Once cats were domesticated in Egypt, there were no more grain famines. Now, the ancient Egyptians might have been famous for their culture for worshiping cats, but there are also several other instances of other ancient civilizations being influenced by their furry friends. In ancient China, cats were also depicted in a godlike form and had adjoining goddesses. It was believed in mythology that cats were originally supposed to run the world and oversee the new creation that was the planet Earth. Cats were so revered because they were supposed to come first in control of the world, but the job ended up being passed to the human beings instead. Coming from the Ancient World Encyclopedia concerning Chinese mythology, it is unknown when this myth originally came through, but an ancient story surrounding the origin of cats in China starts with the gods appointing the cats with the gift of speech instead of humans. This was to oversee the running of the new planet Earth. The cats had other plans, but the cats had other plans. Instead, when the gods came to check on them and see how they were doing at their new job, the cats were found snoozing under cherry trees and playing with the falling blossoms. As the myth continues, the gods came back and gave the cats 3 more chances to prove being worthy of being the dominant race on the planet. As could be expected with cat people, all 3 times the cats were found asleep or at play. After explaining that the cats really had no desire to run the earth, the gift of communication was taken from them and given to human beings instead. The cats were still entrusted with a very important job though, and that was maintaining and keeping order. It is still a common belief in China today that by looking in a cat's eyes, you can tell the time of day. Mythology surrounding cats having very important responsibilities was also prominent in ancient Japan, with the famous myth of the beckoning cat, a cat who was awarded great recognition for saving the life of an emperor. According to the Japanese Entertainment Center, the legend of the beckoning cat goes that one day a cat was sitting outside a Japanese temple and raised his paw in acknowledgement of the emperor walking by. The emperor was impressed by this cat's gesture and entered the temple instead of being struck by lightning minutes later in the exact spot where he stood outside. So, starting in ancient Japan and continuing today in modern Japan, cats are considered a symbol of good luck. Cats become protectors of homes and of valuable books. They were housed in private pagodas and became so popular that only the nobility were able to afford them. Today, by gifting someone a statue of a beckoning cat for their home, you are wishing them good luck and protection. Now that we've looked at some ancient civilizations that have worshipped and renowned cats for their unique abilities as hunters and for their graceful charm, not all ancient cultures have specifically cherished their kitty companions. Although cats proved to be very useful when controlling pests such as rodents, the cat was not popular or revered in the ancient Roman and ancient Grecian homes because of their association with the dark goddess Hecate. Coming from an article about cats in ancient Rome, it is believed that the cats were smuggled by the Phoenicians from Egypt to Europe. The Phoenicians, known for their ocean travel and trading with just about every known civilization they could reach, it's not hard to believe that the cats would be seen on their ships because of their useful tools as helping with vermin control. By keeping cats on their ships, they introduced the Egyptians precious cats to the Romans and Greeks. Instead of cats, weasels were actually the pet choice for rodent control in Roman and Greek homes after dogs. Cats were considered a creature of independence and not a creature of utility, usefulness, or companionship. Now, there are other reasons why the cat was not revered as highly in ancient Greece and Rome. This was because of their close association with the goddess Hecate. Hecate was a goddess that was considered both good and evil. When she was representing good, she could be seen in the form of a dog. But if she was representing evil, she was depicted in a feline form. Hecate was also the goddess of witchcraft, the moon, and poisonous plants, which all sound like lovely things to be a goddess of, right? No, not really. In conclusion, cats have been prominent in most ancient civilizations and cultures. They are mostly revered because of their inclusion in a culture's mythology. Firstly, we looked at why the ancient Egyptians worshipped cats for saving them from mice and because of their association with the goddess Bastet. Secondly, I shared the mythological stories of how cats became the keepers of time in ancient China and how cats became considered good luck in ancient Japan. Lastly, we uncovered why the ancient Greeks and Romans didn't respect or appreciate cats in their homes, because of their association with a goddess from the underworld. For thousands of years, as seen throughout almost all ancient civilizations across the world, humans have been influenced by cats as they have played a crucial role as either companions, pest control aids, and even idols. It's pretty shocking to think about that cats once served as a way of survival in ancient cultures and as forms of goddesses. But our furry friends are still continuing to have a strong influence on us humans today. That is, by capturing our hearts with funny videos on the internet.